I almost dropped out of school. I was just going through a really bad time in my life. I was on a lot of medication. I don't even remember a lot of this time of my life. Hi, my name is Olivia Hops, and this is my story on how I was groomed by my football coach. Growing up, I was very shy. I actually didn't know I was autistic until I was 24 years old. My childhood makes a lot more sense now that I have my autism diagnosis, because as a kid, I was very resistant to change, but I was usually very happy. As my love of football grew and grew, I wanted to play. And so my parents were super into me playing flag football. They were really supportive and really proud. So I played flag football on a girls' team at my middle school. Unfortunately, when you hit high school age, there's no more flag football leagues. So your only option was to play high school tackle football. I wanted to be a part of a team so bad. I wanted to have that camaraderie. So my head coach on that JV football team was just the nicest man. He welcomed me with open arms onto this team, and like he gave a whole speech to the whole team. My first practice too, you're gonna treat her with respect and nothing but respect. And he put in a strict no dating policy, which was really funny. On that team, I had other coaches, and this is where I also met the coach who groomed me. And he was the one that actually taught me how to kick, and he actually made me a very good kicker. During practices, I did not do a whole lot except kick. And so he would make sure he spent time with me, helping me kick as well. And he was a very, very tough coach, in not a mean way or anything, but like very strict. Being autistic, I can't read social situations correctly at times. Looking back on it, these are inappropriate situations that for me was just really a fun, like normal, like I don't see anything wrong with this. Some examples of those situations were, we started texting each other. I would text everybody. I would text all my teammates, but then I would also text him. And at first it was just like football stuff, but then it quickly became like we were just like friends. He made me think like he understood what I was going through. He said he went through similar things as me. It was the start of the grooming process because he was gaining my trust. He didn't really even need to do much to gain my trust because he was my coach. And as a player, I trusted my coaches, including him. He was very ultra protective of me with my teammates, which again, looking back, is very weird. He was very possessive. He didn't like when I would hang out with my teammates, and he would get weird, or he'd be upset if I was texting them. And he made it seem like he was just upset because it was, they were players, they like were no good for me. And it was part of that like no dating rule that my head coach put in. I thought it was more of a joking. Looking back, I think he just wanted me all to himself. And so that's why he did not like me having any other relationships with any of my teammates or any other guy. So our relationship did continue to escalate throughout that season and then beyond. Once I became the kicker, I went all in because I'm ultra competitive too. He encouraged me to practice and practice and practice, and I basically became very obsessive with kicking to the point where I actually ended up injuring myself. I kicked literally so much, I broke my back. I stress fractured a vertebrae in my back. And so I had to go on crutches and all this stuff. So I think that's when the relationship was texting with my coach, like a lot of texting, like all day long texting. In school, I was texting him. Obviously at practice, I was seeing him. After school, after practice, I was texting him. It was constant texting. I won't lie, I very much enjoyed texting him during this time. It was fun. I thought he was my friend. He would do everything for me. Like he was waiting on me. He would literally carry me places so that I didn't have to walk because it was painful even though I was on crutches. And again, I just thought like, wow, like how nice, he's taking care of me. When again, it was just that possessiveness of what groomers kind of do to their victims. Once the season was over, nobody else continued really contact with any of our coaches. I still texted him 24/7. I texted him even more now because now I wasn't seeing him every day after school. He started picking me up from school and taking me home or taking me to my dad's shop. My parents were totally fine with this. They didn't think there was anything wrong with it because he was in a serious relationship. Weirdly enough, during the season and now as I would be getting picked up from school by him, a lot of my teammates thought that was very weird. And I didn't understand why I thought that was weird. None of my other teammates liked him, and I thought it was, again, just a guy thing. You know, he's trying to be macho and he's really strict and hard on them, and he wasn't really hard on me. He never ever tried to, you know, do anything inappropriate in the sense of physical touching or anything like that. Like, we'd go to dinner or lunch after school and to the game. Nothing of that nature ever happened, but I was getting very, very, very dependent on him, and it was an unhealthy obsession now of mine because I was obsessed with him. Like, he was like my everything. If he wouldn't text me, I would like go through withdrawals. Like, I needed to be in contact with him at all times. I became very obsessive over constant contact with him. And as we get farther into the story, that's really how he started to hurt me. Between breaking my back and now I couldn't play football, which I loved, and I was kind of on bed rest for several months. I gained a ton of weight. I gained 50 pounds because I was depressed. So it was just a very negative time. And it was the start of the darkest time of my life. And he was like my light in that. My coach was that, like, my life, because he could make me laugh, he made me smile, you know, he'd pick me up from school, make sure I had, you know, something fun to do afterwards. I'm 15 now, you know, between freshman and sophomore year, and I know that I did not know that I was developing romantic feelings for him, but I was texting him and he somehow got me to admit to him that I had a crush on him. That was like the floodgates opened, like, from that day on, and my feelings grew very quickly. I said, well, we can never be together because, you know, you already found your person. And he's like, I don't think I found my person. You know, he would play into that, you know, and hook me on, like, that maybe there was a chance for us to have a relationship, and the only thing holding us back from having a relationship was my age. He's like, I am having like these feelings for you that I don't understand, that I know are maybe like not allowed. So that's why, you know, like, we can't do anything, but like, don't think that your feelings are one-sided. So he very much played into my feelings and kept me hooked because he made it seem like he reciprocated my feelings. I just continued to develop more and more feelings, stronger and stronger feelings. The farthest the relationship went in terms of being sexual is all virtual. It became sexual in, like, we would to each other in the sense of like talking dirty over text message. And I'm getting better at getting over the guilt and the embarrassment and the shame that I feel from this situation since I figured out what grooming was. But I thoroughly enjoyed these sexting conversations. I was obsessed with them. I thought they were so fun because this is like my first ever kind of like sexual encounter. I know it wasn't physical, but it was so real and like invigorating to me as this like 15, 16-year-old girl who had never like even been kissed. And so this was, you know, just something that I was just over the moon about. I was just having the time of my life. And I think it was good for me too, because I was so shy. And again, being autistic and not knowing, I hate being touched. So even to this day, I don't like physical things. Like kissing is I don't enjoy it. Touching, I don't enjoy it. So this was like the perfect escape for me. It was just all like make-believe in my head, which I was just thoroughly enjoying. So it became sexual in that nature. And I also started sending him like dirty pictures. I didn't think of consequences or anything. And he never sent me a dirty photo. I never asked him for one. I didn't want one. I wasn't interested in that. But I was loving sending him dirty photos. Did he ever say, no, I don't want one? No, he never said that. So he would pull away and he would come back. And it was always him initiating the pull away and the coming back. All of a sudden, he no longer would respond to my text messages. During that point in my life, I was very like angry all the time because he was like my drug. I was completely addicted to him. He would wait just long enough to where like I was so heartbroken and I would kind of be like, okay, like he's gone, I can move on. And then he'd come right back. And he'd be like, hey, like, miss you. Like, I hate life without you. And, you know, all this stuff to just pull me back in and get me right back to where we were. The whole thing went on for a very long time. I mean, years and years and years and years. I didn't really tell a lot of people. I knew that it was like an inappropriate relationship in the sense of our age. I didn't realize he was, grooming me and playing me. I didn't realize that. I thought it was all real. And I just thought, okay, well, I'll let people know and tell people once, I turn 18 and, we can live happily ever after or whatever. I kept it very hush. I was very much suffering alone and going through this alone. So I did have a breaking point. He had started to pull away. I've been up and down on the emotional roller coaster. I was 16 at this time, and I woke up one day and I opened Facebook, and there he was, smack center, first thing on like my feed, and he was kneeling down in front of his girlfriend asking her to marry him. And that crushed my soul so badly, because I'm over here thinking like, wow, like only like 2 more years till we get to be together and, live this happy life, when in reality, he's just playing me this whole time. And that's the part where like, I think I get mad at myself, because I'm considered intelligent, but why could I not just break free from this? He just had a curse over me. I was hypnotized. I told my mom at this point, everything. I'm not a sharer. I keep my feelings and everything inside, especially to like my mom at the time. And so, for her to be hearing all of this and seeing me just break down with something that I had never done before, she was very comforting, was like, it's not your fault, it's okay. And I cried for like a whole day, and I felt so awful. And I remember praying to God, like, please let this feeling go away, because I can't take it. I kid you not, I woke up the next morning and I felt fine. And I did start moving on with my life. I started losing weight, exercising again, getting back into better shape, and just loving myself more. I almost dropped out of school. I was just going through a really bad time in my life. I was on a lot of medication. I don't even remember a lot of this time of my life. I started to heal again, like emotionally, mentally, physically. I ended up like writing him while I was like sobbing and everything, a text message. It was very nice. I basically said like, thank you for those fun football memories. Like, they're memories that I will cherish forever. I wish you the best of luck, like with your life moving forward, but I'm done. And so I thought that was the end. And he did not contact me for, I think, at least 9 months. And then one day, phone buzzed, and it was a text from him saying that he missed me and blah, blah, blah. And I got sucked right back in again. He had complete control over me. He was thoroughly enjoying the fact that I was just completely obsessed with him, because that feeds his ego. He was always initiating the texting, and not that I ever said no to the texting, because I thought it was innocent and it was fun, and he was just my friend. I do think that he wanted to do physical stuff. He texted me almost like on my dang 18th birthday. He reached out and was like, hey, I'm going through like a really tough time. I really could like use a friend. And so here I am thinking, oh, I'm just gonna actually be just a friend. I was like, okay, like, yeah, of course, like, what do you need? And he told me that his fiance had cheated on him. And of course I fell for it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And this is in the back of my head. Oh, he's gonna call off the engagement and we're gonna go live happily ever after. I'm of legal age now, so things are different. And he actually asked me in that conversation, after we talked for a long time, he said, I need to go clear my head. I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow. Do you wanna come? The only reason I did not go is because I had a prior engagement. If I didn't, I may have gone, and who knows what would have happened, but I did not go. And I'm very thankful I did not go. I have no doubt he would have tried to make physical moves on me there, which now, knowing myself and knowing I'm autistic and I don't like physical affection, I would not have liked it, and I would have been mortified. I would have been stuck up there with him, feeling terrible. After that, he then was very much engaging in asking for racy photos and stuff like that, which I was fine with, because all I ever wanted was for him to ask, because then in my brain that meant like he really liked me and like wanted to see these racy photos, and it made me feel good and all this stuff in my teenage brain. This went on for even many years after that, and I'm really embarrassed and ashamed to say that. So it all finally ended, honestly, when I learned what grooming was for real. I had not been in contact with him for probably a year. It's not like I had blocked him or anything. I was just living my life and that was fine. But I knew there was still a chance that he would come back, and I did not know if I had the strength to say no to him. Summer 21, I finally was able to start moving on from that point because I felt so guilty and so ashamed. I thought it was all my fault. And it wasn't until I understood what grooming was and discovered what grooming was that I finally was able to be like, wow, that's what happened to me. It's his fault. He did this on purpose. I was a child. I didn't know better. I was very naive. I mean, I knew nothing about the real world or sexual stuff. We didn't have to go hunting. I just kind of fell in his lap. Unfortunately, the relationship morphed from just a very solid coach-player relationship, which is what I saw it as. You know, now knowing what grooming is and being older, I'm sure that's never what he saw it as, but that's what my 14-year-old self saw it as. And I don't let what happened after that affect my memories of being on that team, because I loved playing football on that team. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my whole life. It was just so much fun, and it was something that I will treasure forever. So I try not to let the two mix. I'm not going to let him take those good memories from me because he's taken a lot of other things. Advice that I would give anybody who is maybe going through this is to first and foremost know that it's not your fault. Even if you're, not a child, it's still not your fault, because grooming can happen between any two people regardless of age. You were tricked into going along with it. That was their goal. They wanted you to go along with it. They wanted to manipulate you into wanting it. Telling my story is what got my control back and what finally broke that and got him out of my head and out of the control over my life. So my life now is, I think just a lot overall happier because I don't have somebody in the back of my head anymore. I'd always wonder, if my phone rang, would it be him one day? I don't know. And so it was just like that, always like, maybe he could reach back out, like he could be there and I could get sucked back in. And so it wasn't until I basically like exposed him that I knew he would never contact me again. And that's when I gained control. So now it's like, never do I think about him. Never do I think about the grooming. Occasionally, before I knew it was grooming, would think about it and just like feel just like so embarrassed and ashamed. I'd be going through my day and it would like pop in my head. I'd be like, gosh, like what an idiot. You're so terrible. Like, how could you do this? Now that doesn't happen. Now I never think about it because I've lost that guilt and shame and I can finally truly move on. I think I share my story because I want to try to help other people who may be going through the same thing, because I know when I thought maybe for the first time I could be autistic, the first thing I did was go to YouTube and look up videos about it. So I want to be able to be a resource for somebody who is typing into Google something, and hopefully my video can come up and give them comfort, give them answers. Thank you so much for watching my story and listening to what I went through. I hope you guys have learned something today and gained some new knowledge to either help yourselves or help somebody else. If you'd like to follow along with my journey with autism and overcoming this and anything just in my personal life, my links to my YouTube and Instagram are down below.